All right, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I saw someone ask, is your mic off? Your kid is singing. They can sing at the top of their lungs, but I'm hoping that you can still hear me so that you can get the information that we're about to share. I'll give you a tip that's not necessarily related to this, but it is related to virtual programming. Whenever you do virtual programming, allow your participants to continue to live their lives, cook, clean, eating dinner, some even driving, but I don't want you to have your camera on and mic on. But as long as you're absorbing the information and participating, that's a win. And we need to keep that in mind. So if you're actually trying to spend some time with your child at home, kudos to you. That's great because I know that that's difficult to come across that time to spend with our families. But just on a side note, so I'm going to dive into social media today, and you are probably going to be surprised with some of the recommendations that I'm going to make. Um, Shannon, I don't know if you need to move it to speaker view or I do so that I have it. Let me make sure, but we're good either way. So anyway, let's dive into this really quickly because I like to keep them short and to the point and beneficial. Okay. So where are our youth living at? What platforms are they on? So when asked what platforms are they on usage wise, these are the top ones, okay? YouTube's 95% of you say that they've used it, TikTok 67%, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and X, also known as Twitter, are the lower ones. And if you go by age demographics, they're almost backwards. And I wanted to prove a point because look at everybody's social media platform in the chat. Age wise, the older you are, we're on X, we're on Facebook, maybe Instagram, not necessarily Snapchat, TikTok. And just to put things in perspective for you, okay? The top 5 websites visited in this country, 4 of them are social media platforms. One of them isn't. And it's the most visited one, which I'm sure you know which one it is because you've probably used it. It's Google, but it's followed by all other social media platforms. And believe it or not, for a lot of our youth, they don't search on Google. They search on YouTube because they can see it. They can absorb it in a fashion that is easier to absorb, not just for youth, video content, short video content. For our younger youth, our younger ones, and when I say younger, I'm talking like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which shouldn't be having a whole lot of screen time, but I'm not going to go into that right now. If you notice, they're just scrolling, watching funny videos, watching children's videos, watching little kids talking about toys, just scrolling, watching. These are going by like this, fast, real fast. But it's also part of what's contributing to our attention span, our focus, our patience. And I've mentioned this before, and I want to mention it again. And I'll use my device here. These are not babysitters, y'all. This is not to babysit you. The tablet is not to babysit you. I understand we're tired. I understand we need a break. Good parenting is not easy, and you don't get to do it when you're full of energy. Good parenting requires a lot of time, effort, focus, and communication. And if you're trying to let something or someone else take their time, take their attention, don't be surprised when you can't get their time and their attention. I have seen complete meltdowns out at restaurants, in cars, where children just are not allowed to get their device. And we're losing that contact, that connection, that relationship. But yet they're building it with somebody that they may never see. They know more about a child that's a big YouTuber, an adult that's a big YouTuber, somebody that's big on Instagram that makes a lot of money. They know more about them than they know about us. So I want you to keep that in perspective because it's important to know, okay? Now, I also want you to stop blaming social media for all of our problems. It's not their fault. We cannot say, well, if Instagram didn't exist, we'd be great. Well, ever since Facebook, this and that, there have been problems, but there have also been wins on social media. However, the first part that a good friend of mine, Stephanie Humphreys, recommended, who is also a social media expert, I wouldn't say also, she is an expert, I'm not. We need to take ownership. You cannot just give up and say, well, they just want to be on the device all the time. Well, they just want to be scrolling all the time. Well, they don't even listen to me anymore. We're not allowed to give up. We're not allowed to just say, well, we lost them to Instagram. Well, TikTok took them over. We haven't seen them ever since TikTok came out. No, we're not allowed to do that. So we need to take ownership. And we also need to make sure that we're giving them something to get off of those devices. We're making sure that they can focus their time on us. We're decreasing that screen time overall and not just social media. You can't get upset at your child because you're the one providing the device. You're the one deciding when to buy it. You're the one trying to justify to yourself, well, my 7-year-old really needed a phone just in case of emergency. Because remember, when we were 7, we didn't know what to do during emergencies. There were no cell phones. Come on. It helps. Don't get me wrong. But that's not the reason. And it's not the reason that the child wants a cell phone, a tablet. Oh, I just want to be able to communicate with you, Mom. I want to make sure I can contact you, Dad. They want to be able to do everything else. So you have to remember who's providing the devices and when. That screen time at a very young age is actually detrimental to children. It's not useful. Even if you just put them on, educational sites, that's helpful, but it's not the best thing. Nothing is going to beat playtime one-on-one, reading one-on-one, going outdoors as a family, as a group. You have to remember these things because, again, we like to blame everything on somebody else. Social media has a lot of cons, don't get me wrong, but it also has a lot of pros. And here's the question that I want you to ask all of our parents as you ask yourself. Who's teaching your child how to use social media? And especially in a responsible manner. And here's why I crack up with this. Obviously, I work a lot with parents. Some parents are, new to the country, newcomers, and they may not have even finished elementary school in the countries they came from. And as soon as you talk about technology, about school, like, I don't do technology. But somehow they will tell you, I do have, as my aunts and uncles say, el Facebook. Si tengo Facebook. I have Facebook. Who taught you how to use it? And in most cases, nobody did. They poked here, they scrolled there, they moved there. And in some cases, it was their own children or their friends that taught them. But here is the big question. Who is teaching our children safe usage of social media? And if you're saying, well, I don't know what to do, where to start, I'm going to make sure that I give you some resources at the end that you can use, but nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to be you having conversations with them, you finding out what they're doing, where they're at, what platforms they're on. There's a reason there's an Insta and there's a Finsta. You think you're following your child. You're following the child that they want you to see. You're not following what your child is letting everybody else see. There's more than one account. We need to be aware of that, okay? Now, I wanted to focus a lot of time and energy onto this because, again, if we aren't having these conversations at home, if we're not helping monitor, if you see your child looking at social media always like this at an angle away from you, that's a sign. That's a red flag. There's a reason they're doing that. And I can tell you right now, if they don't want you to look, they don't want you to see, there's rules and consequences. That's the way life works. And I'll make this simple for you. In the chat, I want you to put your child's favorite color. Put your child's favorite color. Pick one of your children. Pick the one you like the most. I'm just kidding. Pick any student, any child you want. What is their favorite color? So we have pink, green, purple, blue, a lot of pink, blue, purple, pink, lavender, nice, red. So there's a lot of colors, right? All right, so we know their favorite color. Now, in the chat, I would like for you to put your child's favorite meal. What is your child's favorite meal? What do they enjoy to eat the most? And in most cases, you know, because most of y'all are making it, so it's okay. What is your child's favorite meal? So we have pizza, fries, burgers, ziti, burgers, tacos. I'm getting hungry and I already ate chicken burritos. Right. So we know their favorite color. We know their favorite food. Um, you don't have to put this in there, but some other questions that you might want to be able to answer. Who are your child's two best friends? What are your child's two favorite classes? What are some things your child would like to try to be in the future? Now, there's a reason I'm asking you these questions. You can answer most of these. I don't want you to answer in the chat because I don't think the polling is going to go very well. How many of you really know all of your children's logins and passwords for all of their social media platforms that they're on? For some of us, you can say, I definitely know them. I'm willing to bet, because of my experience, that's not the majority of us. And you may be able to log into one of their social media platforms, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean that you're logging into all of their accounts. Okay. Now, if you don't have those, and if you ask and they hesitate, they balk, they say, no, it's okay. Don't you trust me? It's going to turn into one of those fights. I thought you trust me. You told me you would trust me. I do. You don't trust me? Then we can share. But I will give you this warning, and it's kind of tough. I've seen it work a lot better when someone says, I'll give you my username and password. But guess what? A lot of adults are like, well, let's not get carried away. Like, we don't need to do all that. You don't need my username and password for my social media. Why don't you want to give it up? Why are you hesitant? Now you have a better idea as to why your own children are hesitant, why they don't want to give it up. But we need to be able to monitor it. And especially with new changes, like with Instagram having to get parental permission and the different ages to use it, there's changes that are continually going to happen with social media. But again, it doesn't matter if you have good communication at home, if you had a good relationship with that child, if you know their usernames and passwords. Now, I've gotten into this discussion a lot with our parents, and it makes me feel bad, but let me be the bad guy. Are you really losing the battle of obtaining a username and password for a device that you provide, you pay for, and you gave permission to use? It's something we need to take into consideration. And it's also something that we need to teach one another. You shouldn't have had that device before. You shouldn't have registered for that social media platform without having that dialogue in the first place. We should have had this conversation. We should have discussed why it's important to be safe, to be smart. Here are some resources. Nothing, to me, it's very beneficial, especially with youth, when you give real life examples. Do you want to know why? This child was kidnapped. You want to know why? This child just lost their scholarship. You want to know why? This child has been stalked because they posted everywhere they were. You want to know why? Because your social media platforms can tell people exactly where you are. These are things that we need to discuss and we need to be aware of. And we need to help out with. So again, who's teaching that social media usage? We need to make sure that we're aware of that. So here are some conversations that I think that could help so that we can improve. First, what is your digital footprint? Now, for a lot of you, you tend to think right away when I say digital footprint, just like our search history, for example. But that's not the case. And the best way that I can describe it is, as soon as you become a big time athlete, as soon as you start running for a big political position, as soon as you become a big time movie star, someone is going to start looking at your digital footprint. What did you post way back when you were 15, 16, 17? And for those of you that are adults saying, well, you change, you mature, you're right. The way cancel culture works, the way school admissions works, some people are just going to miss out and lose out on an opportunity because of their digital footprint, because of what they said in the past. It's going to affect relationships. It's going to affect your admission status. It's going to affect you getting suspended at school. Some people will end up with the police at their door because something they thought would be funny to post is going to cause some problems. So when I'm talking about your digital footprint, I need you to have a conversation to allow them to understand, look, if you're applying for this job, for this scholarship, they are not just looking at that resume or what you put in the application. Even colleges are now looking at your social media history. And for those of you that say, well, I'm private, you might be, but that doesn't mean all of your friends were, especially if you tagged them. So they get to see you partying, you drunk as a 15-year-old, you with some illegal things when you were 17 years old, and you're posting. We need to be aware of this because it can affect their futures. So what is your digital footprint is a great thing to actually talk about and understand and teach. But again, don't just be the one that's always talking when we're talking about these things. What do you think digital footprint means? Okay, let's do some research and talk about it tomorrow. You do your research and I'm going to do mine. Okay, how could it be dangerous if you posted something inappropriate when you were 15, but then it's discovered when you're 24? These are the discussions that we need to have so our children are aware. What do we share on social? I message a few of my own friends about this. I'm like, hey, I know you don't think it's dangerous. I know you don't think it's a big deal. And I know you think you're just sharing with your friends. But when you have 5,000 friends on social media and you post your child's school grade, I mean, you might as well post their phone number, drop off time, because you're telling people everything about that child. And we need to reconsider that. And when we've taught them this ever since, okay, first day of school, let's post it, school, grade, favorite color, drop off time. I mean, you're putting everything on there. Let's post. Who's teaching them how to use their social media? They're going to do something similar later. I'm here. I'm going to this place. I'm going to this concert. I'm going to the movies tonight. I'm streaming live from here. You're letting people know. And sometimes that's not what you want to do at all times. So what do we share on social is a discussion that we need to have. What is and what isn't appropriate and why? And the last one, when I say, why do you feel addicted? Don't ask this way, please. But do ask, why do you feel the need to just, always be checking, always be like, and you know this, there is such a thing, which is scary, that in your leg, you will feel a vibration because your phone went off, except you didn't have a phone in your pocket. That's how much we are just addicted and attached to these devices. But again, what are we doing to decrease that screen time? We need to do something to, again, put those devices to a side. So let me give you an example. Next time it's dinner time, everybody piles their phones in the middle of the dinner table. Nobody's allowed to touch it until everyone at the dinner table is done eating. If anybody fails, no worries. You failed this time. You clean up the table, you wash the dishes, and we're going to do it all over again tomorrow. You will be amazed at some of our teens that are like, I don't care. I just need to see this. I'll wash, I'll clean. But that should show them in itself how addicted they are. If you hear the little, like half the room turns around, was that me? Like, what's going on? You feel the need to answer immediately. And that's something that we need to address. And it's, again, for our parents, we also need to consider what we're doing. We're the ones sending videos to our children. We're the ones sending text messages to come down to eat, and we're all in the same house. We need to consider what we are doing and what we are sharing. For some of us, it's a way to connect with our children. Sharing social media reels, videos, that's fine. But how many of those are actually educational, useful, talk about your mental health, talk about, being a good athlete, talk about being a good student, versus just silly, funny videos? just to crack up. And again, they mimic a lot that we do. And I hate to say it, but I will say it anyway, because you all know me. If you're getting on your child about their social media usage, I hope and pray they're not talking to you while they're off the screen and you're doing this on your own social media. Because if you are, your actions will always speak louder than your words. You can always say, hey, that's not good for you. Hey, I just learned that we should decrease our screen time. Hey, too much social media. But if you're doing it too, what are we teaching our children? Now, I want you to remember that because, again, apps monitoring, and punishment alone will not work. It helps, but it will not work. You have to improve your relationship with your child. You have to set rules and expectations. There is no reason that your child should be doing this for 3 hours at night and then falling asleep in the classroom. Because if they are, that's on us, not just that child. We're allowing it. It's a device we bought. It's a device we pay for. We allowed them to sign up for social media. We have to set rules and expectations, but we have to commit to the punishments. I don't like using this example, but it's true. And I guarantee you there's somebody on here that fell for it. Okay, little Jimmy, give me your cell phone. You're punished. I'm taking it for the week. Yeah, okay. Little Jimmy's like, he's walking around all sad that first day. I don't have my phone. Next day, little Jimmy's like, Mom, have I told you how much I love you recently? Because, you've done a lot for us. You've sacrificed a lot. You know what? I'm going to do the dishes today because you're that amazing, okay? And they will. They'll go above and beyond. They'll work double time if they need to. By that third day, they're like, we have this group assignment at school. I just need it for the group assignment for the homework. And, as soon as I'm done, I'll give it back, okay? Fine, just a group assignment. You allow them to use their phone, and that's it. They're off the hook. We never even asked for it back. That's why they don't understand boundaries, rules, expectations, consequences. It's not just the platforms, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the TikToks, or the X. It's not that. It's what we do and what we allow to happen. So we have to set those boundaries, and we have to try to follow them as well. You want to improve sleep at home? I'll make it easy. No electronic devices in the bedroom. Some of your children will fall asleep out of boredom. I don't know what to do. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, what? They'll knock out. They are so tired because they sleep so little, because they're up all night scrolling, texting. You know how you call your child in the morning to wake up? Hey, Jenny, it's time to get up. Come on, girl. Come on. We got to go. Come on. It's time to wake up. They don't even move. And all you hear is, they don't even hear you. But at 3:30 in the morning, the same person heard a little, I wonder who's looking for me. Let me see what it is. They'll wake up like that. And that's not healthy. It's not beneficial. It's not needed. But what are we doing to try to change that? Okay. Now, let me give you some resources, because this is one of the important parts that I know you all came for as well. Common Sense Media is a great web page that gives you a lot of resources, not just for social media, but movies, videos, music, everything. It's very beneficial. Common Sense Media. Bark, Family Time, and Custodio are all apps that you can use to monitor social media usage. But I want to give you that friendly reminder. If you expect the app to handle and teach and set expectations and show boundaries and show consequences, it's not going to work. It won't. I hate to tell you, but it's the truth. We're the ones that have to do all of that. These apps can help, don't get me wrong. They definitely can. But if you don't want to use another app, your own cell phone carrier has an option. I can tell you because I've I'm not plugging them, but it's what I use, Verizon, for my whole life. I use the family app option in my account to shut down my kids' phones at 10 p.m. every night. And they would come, like you would hear when 10 p.m. hit, if they were awake, oh, oh, you would hear it every time. But guess what? Everything that they wanted to get to in terms of social, all those things went down. They shut down. I checked, and the last time I looked on Verizon, you have to pay another $5 a month, I think, for that. You're spending 10 times the amount on other, your Netflix, your Spotify, all these other things. It's worth the investment. So again, I want to reiterate, and I told you it'd be a little bit different than what you thought. The apps, the applications, the other resources, they're not going to do the job by themselves. They can't. It requires us having a dialogue with our child and saying, hey, why do you feel the need to like keep on scrolling, keep on filming, keep on recording, keep on posting? What is it? What does it do for you? Or how does it make you feel? When you get that answer, you know what? It makes me feel like, I'm viewed, I'm seen, I'm appreciated. Okay, I need to do something else to make you feel seen, viewed, and appreciated that doesn't require social media. But that requires time, energy, and effort, and more importantly, communication from our behalf. So I want you to invest more time in that. And here's a simple thing you can do. The next time, and again, this is going to go on both parties. That's why it's challenging. Hey, you want to exchange phones and go through our own social media? If they panic, they freak out, red flag. And you should know that. If you panic and if you freak out, red flag for you too. It's just the truth. I don't want us to be bigots and to be people that say, hey, you need to do this, but then we don't do it ourselves. Because again, as parents, you can teach much better through your actions than you can your words. So if we're living it and if we're showing it and if we're doing it and giving them the examples, they can better understand them. So make sure that we're using that opportunity to teach as well. Social media isn't as horrible as we think. It has its pitfalls, but anything in excess isn't that great. What we need to do is try to get their time and attention and their focus away from it so that we can have that relationship again. Relationships aren't the same at home anymore. You want to know what every holiday looks like in most households? Let me show you. And then let me text this to my mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt. That's right over there because this is what the holidays are about. It's not. But what are we doing to make it different? Stop pointing the finger because ultimately it comes back to us as well. How are we teaching responsible usage of social media? What tools are we using like Bark, Family Time, Custodio? You can get a free version of it. These other ones you can pay, but also even through your cell phone carriers to try to help. Because here's the thing. For most parents, if I ask them, they don't even know all the social media platforms their children are on. And that's not okay. But it's also on us. And I'm going to leave you with this. It's okay to show up as a parent and say, hey, I don't think I did the best job setting you up to be responsible with your social media. Can we talk about that? Can we try to fix that? What do you know about a digital footprint? What platforms are you on? How often do you think you're on them? They're going to give you a number, which I guarantee you is way off than the actual number. Go to their screen time and settings, and it'll tell you where they're spending their screen time. And I guarantee you, social media platforms will be tops on that screen time. The next time your child says they don't have time, open up that screen time and say, apparently you do because you spend 8 hours a day just scrolling, just looking at things. So again, I want to make sure that we do everything that we can to improve those those conversations at home. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing. And ultimately, don't try to come in with the punishment right away, with the I'm going to fix this right away, with the give me that phone right away, with the let me see this right away. Try to have a dialogue. Love over fear are completely different. And if I feel like it's a loving conversation, I want to be a part of it. If I feel like you're just trying to scare me, I'm probably going to shut down. And that's the reason our children will go talk to somebody else instead of us. I hope these resources and these ideas and these concepts help you out with your social media. And if they do, do me a big favor. Post a picture of you with your child on each other's social media platform and put the word out there. We talked about social media today because some people will be like, what happened? Why? Are they in trouble? How did it go? How did it start? Because those conversations aren't being had enough. So I hope this helps out and I wish you the best. And speaking of socials, you scan that QR code, you can get some of my socials and I'll try to make it more educational and